In the heart of Chicago's South Side, a young rapper emerged onto the scene, destined to leave his mark in the world of drill. Here is the story of Leonard Anderson, better known as L.A. Capone. Leonard Anderson, who went by the name L.A. Capone, was a Chicago rapper, part of the Black Disciples 600 gang set. In a city which forces young men to either join a gang or become an outsider, L.A. Capone chose to participate in the gang culture, experiencing plenty of gang violence and difficulty along the way. However, unlike many of the Chicago gang members who remain in the streets, L.A. Capone wanted more. In his short music career, he managed to transform his street experiences into captivating lyrics, songs that continue to provide the listener with an insight into the Chicago street life and landscape. L.A. Capone released a song titled Murder. The song mirrored the reality in Chicago, revealing the gritty underworld which exists within the city. Given the name, the song was dark, with fellow 600 member Tay 600 being heard shouting out fellow gang members in the introduction segment. The song continued, with a catchy verse and violent lyrics. Meanwhile, gang members could be seen in the background, giving the music video a more menacing vibe. Chicago is the birthplace of the drill music genre, and drill is the soundtrack to the city. Therefore, it shouldn't be surprising that the negative events taking place become lyrical content for those looking for a way out. At the end of the day, negativity captivates attention. Following the song's release, everyone was sold on L.A. Capone being the next up-and-coming rapper within the city. From here, he would only continue to grow in popularity. L.A. Capone would begin collaborating with other Black Disciple rappers like Lil Durk, Rondo No. 9, and other members of his gang 600. Having already gained some traction, Lil Durk would greatly assist L.A. Capone, giving him a chance to gain more of an audience. The pair were seen in music videos together, with the attention from Lil Durk only benefiting the young artist, as he continued rising to the top of his craft. In July 2013, L.A. Capone's breakout track, Play for Keeps, featuring another 600 member named Rondo No. 9, was released. The song had a quality visual, only helping to boost the popularity of the track. In the video, the two rappers seemed to have a close bond and connection, with the authenticity being felt given the fact that they were part of the same gang. In short succession, the song became one of the most popular within the Chicago drill genre, with hard-hitting lyrics and imagery. Given that L.A. Capone had only really just started, everyone was optimistic about the young artist's progression, wondering about what he'd drop next. Many started asking who this young man was, wondering if he had a street background like Lil Durk or Rondo No. 9. Given his association to other notable gang members, L.A. Capone's rumored street activities also contributed to his acceleration within the music game. Not only had L.A. Capone been shot, survived and not told, but he had also reportedly been present during multiple shootings and murders. Posting incriminating tweets following the deaths of rival gang members was something being done by most, if not all of the young men involved. Regardless of whether Anderson was directly involved or not, these violent events helped to seal him as the real deal. To his fans, he was someone who actually lived what he rapped about. However, although many people love to know that their favorite rapper is really about that life, it truly is a double-edged sword for the person behind the mic. Statistically speaking, the life of any gangbanger is often short-lived, as death or the penitentiary is awaiting those who stay active for too long. Whatever you do, good or bad, there are consequences that await. By putting out the wrong energy, you essentially screw yourself over in the long run. For L.A. Capone, being part of 600 was both a blessing and a curse. Sure, it gave him more attention in the music scene, but it also made him more of a target for the opposition. In years past, many fellow and rival gang members had passed due to street warfare, with the cycle of violence resulting in even more bloodshed. The struggle to stay alive and make it out of a place in which violence is a part of daily life is surely a difficult, yet strong driving factor for many Chicago rappers' success stories. In his song titled Some More, Capone showcases his desire to splash out on luxury designer goods and experiences. The song is far more catchier than his 2012 song Murder. It really expressed Capone's goal of escaping his current situation. His father had passed away, and like with any young man living in the inner city, he had the genuine motivation to make it out of the hood, and help his family. Unfortunately, many young men never made it out of the neighborhood, as tragedy tends to strike at a moment's notice. L.A. Capone was trying his best to take music seriously, working on a mixtape album called Separate Myself. Being that Anderson was only 17 years old, he was doing better than most of his peers, building up a name for himself within Chicago. He had a talent, and was trying both to monetize, and use it to his advantage. Sadly, despite the fact that he was working on perfecting his music career, L.A. Capone was involved in the 600 vs. 051 Young Money Street feud. Music was a way in which 600 rappers dissed the opposition, poking fun at the dead. This serves to enrage the enemy, who pulls up shortly after the song drops, to shoot up the block. The brutal reality of Chicago's gang conflicts is that eventually, everyone involved in the war gets got. Having to stay alert or armed for protection is hardly beneficial, as most never see the threat coming. For L.A. Capone, a trip to the studio was all that it took, with this decision providing an opportunity for the opposition, who desperately wanted to up the score, seeking revenge for deceased members of 051 Young Money, specifically the death of Antonio Davis, aka 051 Fathead. L.A. Capone had spent the morning in court on a trespass to land case. Having left court at 2, he arrived at the music studio in the late afternoon, eager to record some music. He and a friend spent the afternoon there, before the unthinkable happened. Stepping outside of the music studio, the two friends sat on some steps, before Anderson decided to walk down an alleyway to take a phone call. An unknown shooter emerged from the darkness, saying nothing as he upped a .45 caliber handgun. Without hesitation, the suspect opened fire on L.A. Capone, hitting him in his lower back. The bullet lodged, with Capone having little time to react as another shot rang out. The next bullet struck the back of his right thigh, exiting through his right groin area. Anderson hit the ground, the suspect's shadow having been seen fleeing from the alley. L.A. Capone would be rushed to hospital, still conscious in the ambulance. He mentioned to the paramedic that a car had pulled into the alleyway, with 5 to 6 shots being fired. Anderson's status was a glimmer of hope, but his situation suddenly worsened, with him losing consciousness and never waking up. At 20:33, Anderson was pronounced deceased. Following Anderson's unexpected death, multiple albums were dropped. The Separate Myself mixtape album released. It featured already released tracks like Play for Keeps, Round Here, and So Loud. As is the case with much of Chicago, the offender went unpunished for a time, finally being apprehended in August 2014. It would be revealed that Saki Hardy Johnson, better known as 051 Lil Mick, had gotten a phone call about Anderson through a friend who was working at the music studio. Lil Mick, Michael Mays, known as 051 Rockhead, Mako Buchanan, and Amanda Fitch, known as Big A, traveled over to the studio in 2 cars, with the intent to kill Anderson. Upon later being interviewed about the case, the whole gang would spill the beans, resulting in everyone becoming incriminated for the crime. Mako Buchanan even received some complimentary jail treats for cooperating. One such person who was unable to talk was Amanda Fitch, who had been killed in November 2013. Lil Mick would speak on her behalf, telling the authorities about those who he believed to have been responsible. All 3 suspects eventually received football numbers for being involved in the murder. The brutal reality is that they likely live in regret for their participation in such a cold-blooded crime, having snaked each other out for hopes of lighter sentences. Even though he is gone, L.A. Capone still captures the attention of fans and industry insiders alike. His raw lyrics and gritty delivery have made him one of the most memorable Chicago artists to have risen during the drill era. As his music resonates with listeners, L.A. Capone's loyal fanbase only continues to climb in numbers. The fact is that L.A. Capone was different, and he was most definitely going places. Even though he is gone, his music enables us all to remember him, not only his struggles and pain, but also his authenticity. Rest in peace.